Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. The title of today's video is the witch doctor real? Once again, today's video is entitled, Is the witch doctor real? The reason I'm doing this video is because over the last, I want to say, month or so, I've had two people approach me asking me, is the witch doctor, is this stuff, any of this stuff real? And I was actually on my phone the other day, and it came across my feed that some witch doctor from Africa or somewhere was coming to America. And I found that kind of interesting, a female witch doctor. And apparently people were supposed to be trying to petition to see her or hear what she had to say and things of the like. So this video is going to address all things pertaining to soothsayers, witch doctors, etc. That way you have a clear understanding which way to go as it pertains to them. All right, once again, brace yourselves, tighten up your jaws. Do not turn to the left or to the right, or you will be hit in the mouth. And we do not want that, okay? You will get hit in the mouth when you start turning to the left or to the right. We're to walk the straight and narrow way of the Most High's commandments. All right, we will start this lesson in 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 28. 1 Samuel chapter 28. And we will deal with we'll start off with verse 3. Verse 3 of 1 Samuel chapter 28. And verse 3 reads, Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had lamented him and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. And Saul had put away those that had familiar spirits and the wizards out of the land. So Saul, being the governor, being the Most High's anointed, he had put away all the soothsayers, all the wizards, and those of familiar spirits, i.e. the witch doctor. Okay? Verse 4, And the Philistines gathered themselves together and came and pitched in Shunem. And Saul gathered all Israel together, and they pitched in Gilboa. Verse 5, And when Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. Verse 6, And when Saul inquired of Yah, Yah answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. So keep in mind, I've done a video, brother, I don't understand, explaining when you start to walk contrary to the Most High's word, anyone that inquires of him, he will not deal with you. Okay, so this is why he is not answering or dealing with Saul at all. Saul is cut off, okay, from the Most High at this point. So the Most High is not answering Saul in any way, shape, or form when Saul inquires of the Most High. Verse 7, Then Saul said unto his servants, Seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servant said to him, Behold, there is a woman that has a familiar spirit at Endor. So, once Saul was not being answered by the Most High, Saul petitioned his men to find a soothsayer, a witch, if you will. Okay? And so the men of Saul told Saul, yeah, there's a woman in this area, in Endor, and she deals with familiar spirits. Verse 8, And Saul disguised himself and put on other raiment. And he went, and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night. And he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up, whom I shall name unto thee. So he's telling this woman, look, first of all, he's the governor, and he had passed a decree that, hey, kill all these soothsayers, okay, and kill those who are of familiar spirits. All right, this has been the decree that he passed. So what he has done now, he has deceitfully put on new raiment, feigning himself, disguising himself, and going to a woman that of a familiar spirit, a witch, if you will. And the Most High has strict commandment against this sort of thing. All right. Verse 9. And the woman said unto him, Behold, thou knowest that Saul hath done. Thou knowest what Saul has done. He hath cut off all those that have familiar spirits, and the wizards out of the land. Wherefore, then layest thou a snare for my life, to cause me to die. So the woman is telling Saul, look, Saul, the governor, has passed a decree to where all the soothsayers are to be killed. All the spirit doctors and those who call upon familiar spirits. So she's acknowledging to him, look, for me to do this and you being here, this can get me killed. Verse 10, and Saul sware to her by Yah, saying, As Yah liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing. So, what Saul is doing, the Most High anointed, keep in mind, this is the Most High's anointed now. This is how foul our leaders have been. He is telling her, look, don't you worry about that decree that was passed. As Yah liveth, nothing is going to happen to you. He can say that because he's the governor. But besides that, his error is he is walking in total opposition to the Most High's law. The Most High made it plain that anyone that's doing this, they're to be put to death. He is saying, nah, you're not going to be put to death for this thing. As long as Yah liveth, no harm is going to come unto you. So he is trying to override, supersede, undermine the Most High's commandments. This is what this man is doing. And this is a governor. This is supposed to be one of our leaders. Okay, this is the Most High's anointed. That's actually giving counsel that's absolutely against the Most High's law and contrary in every way, shape, or form. Okay. Verse 11. Then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, Bring me up Samuel. So, Samuel, keep in mind, Samuel is a prophet of the Most High. All right. Samuel also was giving Saul guidance while Samuel was still alive. He would give Saul counsel, but the counsel that Samuel gave Saul refused to hear. So now Samuel is dead, and Saul goes to this soothsayer, Bring me up Samuel. Bring up the spirit of Samuel. All right. Verse 12. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. Why did she cry with a loud voice? Because this whole soothsayer thing is nothing but a hustle. So when she saw Samuel for real, she was horrified. Now keep in mind, the Most High is causing all of these things to come about. All right? Saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. So she saw Samuel. All right? Then she cries out with a loud voice saying, why have you deceived me? You're Saul, you're the governor. All right? Verse 13. And the king, correct term governor, said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods, lowercase, okay, ascending out of the earth. All right, I'm assuming this would be termed as far as gods go, would be like maybe angels or something of the sort, just different beings she's seeing ascending out of the earth. Okay, verse 14. And he said unto her, What form is he of? And she said, An old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel. And he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself. So the woman said, Yeah, I'm seeing an old man come up out of the ground. Okay, Saul is dead, mind you. Okay, and so Samuel perceived that this spirit that she had conjured up is Saul. So he bowed himself to him. All right. Verse 15. And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me? Why are you disturbing me? I'm at rest. I'm dead. Okay. To bring me up. And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and Yah is departed from me, and answereth me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known unto me what I shall do. Now, keep in mind, this governor Saul walks contrary to the Most High's instruction. He is fearful of man instead of making the Most High his dread and his fear. So while Samuel was alive, Saul would not walk in the counsel of the Most High that was given to him by the prophet Samuel. Okay, so now that Samuel has died, the Most High has withdrawn himself, have cut Saul off. Now Saul seeks to inquire of the Most High, but the Most High said clearly, any man that deals with idols, deals with familiar spirits and wizards and things of the like, and walk contrary to his law, the Most High said, I will not be inquired of by you. So therefore, you're seeing this right here. Saul is being cut off. He goes to the soothsayer and try to bring up Samuel. All right. Verse 16. Then says Samuel, wherefore then dost thou ask of me, seeing Yah is departed from thee and has become thine enemy? All right, that's very important. Whenever you walk contrary to the Most High's law and you're not walking step in lockstep with him, remember, two can't walk together lest they be agreed. So, same thing happened as Saul became an enemy unto the Most High, vice versa. The house of Israel have done the same thing. We have become an enemy unto the Most High. That's why he has withdrawn himself from us. So we're to keep these things in mind when we hear that very familiar quote by Dr. John Henry Clarke, that our people have no friends. Well, we can't have any friends. If the Most High has become an enemy unto us, we won't have any friends. So therefore, we must turn back from our wicked way, because as long as we are enemies unto the Most High, we will have no friends, and we just can't win. It's really that simple. Verse 17. And Yah has done to him as he spake by me. For Yah has rent the kingdom out of thine hand and given it to thy neighbor, even to David. So Samuel is telling Saul, well, the Most High is doing exactly what he said that he would do, that he would take the kingdom away from you and give it to your neighbor David. Okay, because Saul is of the house of Benjamin. Okay, so it will be taken from the house of Benjamin and will be given to the house of Judah or the house of Judah. And from there on, from David on, all the governors will be of the tribe of Yehudah, and all the governors will be of David's seed. So you're seeing the governorship being taken away from the house of Benjamin, who is Saul, and turned over to the house of Yehudah, who is the house of David. Okay? Verse 18. Because thou obeyest not the voice of Yah, nor executed his fierce wrath upon Amalek. Therefore hath Yah done this thing unto thee this day. So Saul had an opportunity to kill these Amalekites. Most High instructed, hey, I want you to kill them all. Don't take anything. Don't take any of the animals, none of the people, anything. Kill them all. So what happened is he decided, you know what? I'm going to keep the sheep. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to keep that. He totally went against the Most High's instruction. And because of this rebellion, he was simply cut off. This is something for you to remember. Last verse in this chapter that we will read is verse 19. Remember, we're in 1 Samuel chapter 28. And verse 19 of 1 Samuel chapter 28 reads, Moreover, Yah will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines. And tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me. Yah also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. All right. This speaks to Saul as it pertains to the soothsayer. Saul had taken all of the soothsayers, all the wizards and the witches, killed them, got them all out of the land. And then he reneged on that, being a hypocrite, and the Most High hates hypocrites. He decides that he's going to, okay, I got them out of the land, all right, and all the people know that they're not supposed to be soothsayers and witch doctors and witches and things of the like in the land. So as soon as the Most High would not answer him, then the first thing he sought to do was to find a soothsayer, a witch, if you will. And he did this thing, which is total hypocrisy based on what he had done previously, and it walks and flies in the face of the Most High's commandments pertaining to soothsayers and witch doctors. All right, now let's move to Exodus chapter 22. Exodus chapter 22. We'll read Exodus chapter 22. We'll go to verse 18. All right. Exodus chapter 22, verse 18 reads, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. All soothsayers, witch doctors, we were instructed to kill them." Let me make that clear. All witch doctors, soothsayers, wizards, those that seek familiar spirits, the children of Israel, we were instructed to kill them. They were not allowed to live. That would be Exodus chapter 22, verse 18. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. So they are to be killed, to make that clear. Now let's move over to Leviticus chapter 20. Let's back up to chapter 20. Back up 2 chapters, Leviticus chapter 20, and we'll read verse 27. Leviticus chapter 20. Excuse me. Excuse me 1 second. All right. Leviticus 20, 27. Leviticus 20, verse 27. And Leviticus 20, verse 27 reads, "A man also or woman that hath a familiar spirit, or that is a wizard, shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones. Their blood shall be upon them." So once again, anyone that is a witch doctor, male or female, okay, that seeks familiar spirits, okay, the strict commandment by the Most High is that they are to be put to death. That is, number one, they're not to be sought after. That's one of the main things to remember. They're to be put to death, number one. They're certainly not to be sought after by anyone of the house of Israel at all that is walking within the strict commandments of the Most High's law. Okay, so they're not to be sought after in any way, shape, or form. Now let's stay in the same chapter and back up to verse 6 of the same chapter. We are in Leviticus chapter 20, and we will read verse 6. "And the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits," wizards, "and after wizards, to go a whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul, and will cut him off from among his people." So once again, anyone that seeks after those that have familiar spirits, the witch doctor, the wizard, the witch, if you seek after them, the Most High will cut you off from among his people. Keep in mind, I've done that lesson, set my face against that man and his house. So even if you are not directly involved in this wickedness, if you see it and you don't address it, and you are partakers in it, if you are an accomplice in any way, shape, or form, you are a guilty party, and the Most High will require it of you. He will set his face against you and against your house. So we're not to allow wickedness to go unchecked anywhere. And that's the purpose of the righteous, is to check the wicked and point out his errors, that we do not suffer him. We do not allow our brother, sister, to just go ahead and just sin, and for that not to go unchecked. All right. Now, let's move back 2 chapters to Leviticus chapter 19. Leviticus chapter 19. And we will read verse 31 of Leviticus chapter 19. And verse 31 of Leviticus chapter 19 reads, "Regard not them that have familiar spirits." Don't hold them in high regard. Don't hold them in high esteem. They are to be killed. Okay? This is a strict commandment. Neither seek after wizards to be defiled, by them. I am Yah, your strong one. Let me reread that, verse 31 of Leviticus chapter 19. Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am Yah, your strong one, or I am Yah, your strength. So, we are not to seek after the soothsayer. To do that is to defile ourselves. Not only that, it brings curses upon our houses. It gets us cut off from the Most High. It gets us cut off from the congregation. It is a thing that ought not to be done. All right. Now, let's move over to the book of Isaiah. The book of Isaiah chapter 8. The book of Isaiah, and we will read chapter 8, and we will read verse 19. Isaiah 8, verse 19 reads, And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep, and that mutter, should not a people seek unto their strong one, for the living to the dead? So therefore, if anyone suggests to you to go seek that soothsayer, go and seek those that are of familiar spirits. What we should do, we should seek unto our strength, the Most High Yah. All of our days we're to do this. We're at no time to conjure up anyone that's dead or have someone else conjure up someone that's dead. These things ought not to be done. These things are abomination before the Most High. They are a no-go. Verse 20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Light is akin to truth. Truth is akin to wisdom. Wisdom is akin to understanding. So anyone that's telling you anything that's contrary to where any of these prophets are saying from Genesis to Malachi is because there's no light in them, there's no truth in them, there's no righteousness in them. And when you have no light, then you have darkness. Darkness is akin to sin. So, we are not to seek after soothsayers. We're not to listen to anyone that speaks contrary to the words of any of these prophets from Genesis to Malachi. Because if you speak words that are contrary to the Most High's words, there's no light in you, there's no wisdom in you, there's no understanding in you, and there is no righteousness in you. Okay? All right. Last stop, Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy. The book of Deuteronomy, and we will go to chapter 18. The book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 18. And we will start at verse 10. And we'll read from 10 through 14. And verse 10 of Deuteronomy chapter 18 reads, There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divinations, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch. All the same thing. Enchanter, observer of times, a witch, and using divination. All of this stuff is nothing but witch doctor, sorcery, all of this nonsense. Okay, it's a no-go. Verse 11. Or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. Verse 12. For all that do these things are an abomination unto Yah. And because of these abominations, Yah thy strength, or Yah thy strong one, doth drive them out from before thee. So The people that were in the land, those 6 nations that were in the land before we got there, that is why we were instructed strictly, do not follow after their ways, after their laws, after their customs, because they were doing all the things that the Most High hated. All this wickedness that I've just listed is what those nations were doing. That's why we were instructed not to make any covenants with them, and we were strictly forbidden to marry them. Verse 13, thou shalt be perfect with Yah thy strong one. You will hear our people say, hey man, you ain't perfect. You think you perfect and all of these things. Or you ain't holy. The Most High said clearly, we are a holy people unto him. He's commanding us here that we shall be perfect before him, to walk in his laws. That's the perfect right there, walking within his laws, acknowledging your faults, and should you make an error, you will atone for it by facing Jerusalem, lifting your hands in prayer and making your supplication for your errors. All right? And in so doing, you are walking perfectly with the Creator. So when someone tells you you can't be perfect, you bring them to this spot right here and you show them that we were instructed to be perfect. And the Most High is not going to instruct us to be perfect, and he knows that we couldn't be. It will be impossible. He's not going to give us laws that we can't follow. It is just silly for anyone to think this. Okay, so we were instructed to be perfect with the Most High, and that means simply to obey his voice, which is to walk within the confines of his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. It's that simple. Last verse, verse 14. For these nations, that's the 6 nations that were in the land of Canaan before we actually took over that place, which thou shalt possess, hearkened unto observers of times, and unto diviners. But as for thee, as for you, Israel, Yah thy strength, or Yah thy strong one, has not suffered thee so to do. All right. Strict commandment being given to the children of Israel. All these other nations around you, they seek after the wizard, after the witch, after the soothsayer, after the witch doctor. Israel, you are not to do this. You are to be perfect before me. Before you seek anything or anyone, you are to seek me and me alone. That's the Most High's commandment. He will not give his glory to another. So a witch doctor can't take his place. JC can't take his place. No one can take the place of the Most High. So when we decide to seek for answers from anything, our first place to look, the first place for us to inquire must be the Most High and the Most High alone. And that needs to be our first stop when we decide to seek answers to a thing. We are not to go to the witch doctor or the soothsayer. If you're sick, before you go see your physician, you first take that situation that you have and you face Jerusalem, get on your knees, lift your hands in prayer, make supplication to the Most High first. And after you do that, then you go and inquire of your physician, and the Most High will put the Spirit on him to give you the right counsel, give you the right medicines, etc., that your situation, you may be healed of your sickness. So the first thing that we must do, must seek the Most High first. All right. That concludes the biblical portion of this lesson for you to understand clearly how we are to deal with these wizards, these witch doctors, and these witches. All right. Now, here's the commentary portion of this that we see from day to day. Now, if you are living in Central, South, Latin America, in those areas, in Africa, in the Caribbean, our people are full of this nonsense. Okay? I've seen some madness myself that I cannot explain. However, I'm well aware of what this book states pertaining to the soothsayer. So now the question is the soothsayer real? Does he have these powers? I golf with one of my buddies, right? And when he's hitting the ball sideways and he's not playing well, the first thing he states is, man, somebody's got a root on me. I got to get this root off me. So he's saying that somebody has put some kind of juju on him, and that's why he's unable to play well. When I hear this sort of thing, I laugh. But he's dead serious. Now, when you start dealing in the United States, you may find this in New Orleans, where they're doing this madness in that area. You may find that maybe even in the low country, South Carolina, possibly. Certainly, you're going to see it in the Caribbean. You're going to see it in Mexico. You're going to see it in Panama. You're going to see it in Honduras. You're going to see it in Jamaica. You're certainly going to see a ton of it in Haiti. You're going to see a bunch of it in Brazil, etc. All through the Central, South, and Latin America and the Caribbean, you will see this nonsense as far as our people turning to soothsayers. So let's analyze this thing and see if the soothsayer is real. Let's back up and go to the continent of Africa. Let's start there because it is prevalent in Africa. It's all over the place. The witch doctor, he's all over the place. All right, let's look. Let's look at the fact that Europeans came to Africa. I'm certain befriended some African tribes and caused those tribes to go grab other Africans and had them traded for rum and guns and whatever else. And thus we were brought into slavery. All right. If the witch doctor was real, those tribes that were snatched up, he would have been able to go into his hut and make little dolls of the whole entire crew of those ships, poke them with a little pin, and kill off the whole crew. That way his people wouldn't be captured and taken into slavery. He would have been able to do these things. When the other tribes came to inflict or to capture his tribe, he would have been able to put a spirit upon them to make sure that they were not successful in capturing his people, putting him on a ship, and shipping him across the sea. If the witch doctor had any power, he would be able to put a spirit upon that individual or those individuals of the crew or of the enemy tribes to stop them from taking his people away. He was unable to do that. Now, we have the Europeans that have conquered all of Africa. All, not some, all of it. Have divvied it up via the Berlin Conference. The witch doctor was powerful in stopping that European man from literally decimating that entire continent, stealing its resources today, exploiting its people today. Yet Africans are still turning to witch doctors, and the witch doctor has not been able to stop any of this. The African doesn't even control his own money, doesn't control his own natural resources that's in the ground below the feet that below the ground that he walk on, below his own feet. He doesn't control the bauxite. He doesn't control the diamonds or anything else that comes out of the iron ore that comes out of the ground that's below the feet of his own place, his own area. It's below his own feet. He's walking on this ground. He has no control of it. Nor does he have any control of anything around him, economically or otherwise. So the witch doctor, if we look at what's going on in Africa today, and today is March the 10th, 2020. So the witch doctor is powerless to stop the Europeans from running amok in Africa today. The Chinese is currently colonizing Africa today. The witch doctor can't stop the Chinese man. He wasn't able to stop the European. And you will see the Chinese do pretty much the same thing. So the witch doctor is powerless. It's a farce. He's a fraud. Now, let's leave the continent. Let's come to Central, South, and Latin America and the Caribbean. So our people are in these pockets, in these places, doing the same nonsense, turn into soothsayers, turn into wizards, those that peep, and those that seek familiar spirits. So things are going bad for one of our people down in South America, one of our people down in Latin America, maybe in Brazil, maybe in Belize, maybe in Honduras, maybe in Barbados, maybe in Trinidad, maybe in Jamaica, maybe in Haiti. So when things and hard times hit them, they do not consider, you know what? I may be walking contrary to Most High's law. Let me go ahead and refresh this law, walk within it, make supplication for my errors, and maybe the Most High will have mercy upon me and my fortunes may change. That's not their thinking. Their thinking is the first thing to go to the soothsayer because they feel that someone has put a root on them. Someone has put a spirit on them that has caused them to come into misfortune, so to speak. So this is the first thing that they do. Now, let me tell you something about the soothsayer, the witch doctor in these areas, or the witch. You have got to go over the hill, through the woods, down in the valley to someone that's in a tent. Okay, these soothsayers are, number one, they're poor. They're uneducated, have never been anywhere, don't have a passport, don't have anything. So you have a man who may be doing well that's going to go over the hill, through the woods, down in the valley to some man or woman down in a tent that has a tin roof that's sleeping on a cot someplace. There's no AC. There's no heat. There's no running water in his dwelling. This soothsayer is poor and glad to see you, the sucker, that's going to come and give him some money so he can get something to eat that day. Don't have anything. Walking around with a pair of chancletas on their feet. But that's flip-flops. And a wife beater and some shorts. Place is filthy. He has absolutely nothing. But you leave your comfortable dwelling where you may possibly be educated and have some means of substance. You come down to this poor man in a shack that's sleeping on a cot, possibly on the floor, and you seek for him to take a spirit off of you. This is how delusional our people are. So we continue to do this, turn into these soothsayers to help you. All right, let's take a look once again. Let's see if it's real. If this soothsayer had any power, he would have stopped the colonizers in Africa if he had the power. If he had the power, he'd stop the Chinese right now from just literally running through his tribes, taking his land. They couldn't stop the soothsayer, couldn't stop the Europeans from doing it. They can't stop the Chinese from doing it. All right, so we've got that set. So he's failed in Africa. Now we're going to bring that soothsayer outside of Africa, in the diaspora where we've been scattered. When you go to the people who are seeking after these spirits and after all of this manner of foolishness, you will find one common denominator, one common theme. It's our people. They are poor and they're hopeless. Those are two things that goes together. When you find a man that's hopelessly poor, you can tell him almost anything. Now, this soothsayer supposedly has the power to remove wicked spirits and therefore put a bad one on you, or therefore put a good one on you. So here's how you know this is nonsense. All of our people in these many nations where we dwell in the diaspora, we are predominantly poorer than everyone else in these nations, and we certainly are mistreated, incarcerated, beaten up, taken advantage of, and exploited. So the soothsayer can't do anything to help his people. The soothsayer himself is poor and have nothing and is uneducated and has never been any place. If he had any power, That soothsayer would be able to live in a house with some AC. He would have some running water. Instead of sleeping on that bedding on the floor or on that cot, he would have a Sealy mattress, nice and comfortable to sleep on. He'd be able to put a spirit upon himself or put it on somebody else to get himself out of the squalor and the poverty that he himself or she herself is in. But the soothsayer can't do these things. They are poor and destitute, and they're thankful to see a sucker come over the hills, through the woods and down in the valley to his tent, and then you lay there on some brick and he squirts some chicken blood in your face, throw some water on you, light a couple of fires, make a couple of chants, stick his hand out, get that money that you're going to give him, send you on your way. Now you feel as though, okay, the spirit has been removed from you and a good spirit is on you. Man, this is garbage. But that's a feel-good tactic. The soothsayer and the preacher is the same guy. Hustlers. Hustlers, look, you pay me for this blessing. You put this money up. Let me get 10% of your bread. And, hey, look, you're going to feel good about yourself because you've done a good thing. So it's a temporary fix. You go to the church house. You give that soothsayer, who is that pastor, your money. You feel good till you step out the door of that church. Once you step out the doors of that church, you go back to the same behavior that you did before you came in there. So you're coming in there for a fix. It's like a drug fix, pretty much. Same thing with that soothsayer that's over the hill, down through the woods and down in the valley in that hut. Things going rough for you. You want to go see him. He squirts some stuff on you, light some fires, do a chant, do a dance, right? Sing a song, get your money, send you on your way. You feel good till things get bad again, or they may still remain bad and you got to come back. So it's the same hustle, it's the same setup, and our people need to recognize this thing. Because you're going to the church house, you're giving the soothsayer your money, you step outside and your son gets shot that week. Or you find out you've got diagnosed with a terminally ill disease that week. And you're seeing every day that you going to this soothsayer that's over the hill, down the valley and in the woods. You're seeing that that's not working. You're going in the church house to see that soothsayer once, maybe twice a week. And yet, your troubles are everywhere. So this stuff is not working for us. It doesn't matter what part of the diaspora that we're in. These governments make no difference. Like I've said before, they all adhere to the government of the Roman Catholic Church, which is Christianity. They're one and the same. So, whether you are in a democratic nation, whether you are in a communist nation, I don't care where you find our people, regardless of the nation and regardless of their form of government, anywhere on the earth, our people are disenfranchised and we are up at the bottom and we are the victims of whatever legal system is within that is within that nation. And that is because we are seeking to soothsayers, those that peep, wizards, witches, idols, and some of us are so foolish, we seek comfort in believing in a government. And these many governments have systematically put laws in place regardless of where we live to kill us and our children. So these are some of the things that we all need to consider when we read this book. And we're going to bear witness with our own eyes that the Most High right now is undefeated. All that he states in this law, once you start to read it and understand it, you will see clearly that he's not joking. And clearly all that he has said is holding up. More importantly, you'll be able to go into this law, read all that he has said that our people would do and have been doing, and you look around and see clearly, my goodness, our people really are believing this. Our people really are engaged in this behavior. And generation after generation, we are so delusional, we are unable to step back and see clearly that, man, this isn't working. This is not working. So, in conclusion, the witch doctor, is he or she real? Of course not. It's garbage. You're not to seek after them. It will be to your hurt. It will get you cut off from the Most High's congregation. It will get you cut off from the Most High to where the Most High will not be inquired of by you. It will cause the Most High to turn his face against you and against your house. So, do not seek after them. I don't care where you are. Okay? Brazil, Haiti, and all these other places where this stuff is rampant. It's all over the place with our people doing this nonsense. Turn away from it. Go through the scrolls that I've just read. That way you understand clearly it's abomination before the Most High and it's against his law. And for those of us here in America, a lot of our people are actually now repatriating back to Africa, to Ghana, and all these other things, and that's perfectly fine. However, we are not to go after these witch doctors and all that other nonsense. Like I said before, if that stuff was real, they would have been able to stop the European and the Chinese long before we were able to get shipped over here, if that's the case. All right, so don't take part in this nonsense. Go into the Most High's law, read it, study it, adhere to it. And when witch doctors get on a plane and fly from Africa and come to America, you're not to seek after them. You're not to inquire of them. You're not to do with their podcast. You're not to deal with them at all. Don't even listen to what they have to say. It's nonsense. And our people are not to take part in it. It would be to our hurt. All right. So you understand clearly now what you are to do pertaining to the witch doctor. Our instruction was to kill them, and we were not to seek after them. Very clear-cut instruction. So we read it in the book, and I've given you an example of exactly what we have and what takes place in Central, South, and Latin America, in these places, in the Caribbean, where this stuff is rampant in the midst of our people. They're duplicitous. They'll go to church, which is the soothsayer. They'll go to the idolatrous church house, and then they'll turn around and go see the witch doctor after that. Our people are just a confused people that don't know which way to go. However, the Most High did say that he would raise up men after his own heart, in whose heart is his law. So what I just read to you was not out of my own heart. I didn't make it up. What I read to you clearly was the instruction given to the children of Israel by the Creator himself. You heard what I've just said straight out of the Torah. So let that be your reference. Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Stay away from these soothsayers. Soothsayer, pastor, same guy, selling you a hopeless dream. And you will see nothing. You will have no prosperity. You will have the Most High set his face against you and your house when you seek after this madness. Peace, Israel, and Yah bless.